It's a pleasure to have you here with me, Max Marlow, the director of the Adam Smith Institute, one of our partners at the Free Market Roadshow in London. Thank you for your great contributions, your collaboration,
it's been a pleasure.
And co-organizing everything with the Legatum Institute and the Green College group here. Yeah. And I think it was the best roundup of the roadshow that we could have ever done. Thank you very much, Max.
Well, thank you. It's been a great opportunity. I've enjoyed it greatly. So let's crack on with this. Why not?
Exactly, we will. So Max is actually the non-executive director of the Masonic Charitable Foundation, which is wonderful. He's also the Hayek Society. He was at the Hayek Society at the London School of Economics. Way back when you were young, when you were running that. And as I mentioned, the director of the Adam Smith Institute. And thank you for bringing all your wonderful research on housing today into the conversation. Yeah. You know, you were quoted up and down from not only politicians, but also from fellow speakers and researchers. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
But there is something that I really would like to start out with, the Next Generation Initiative of the Adam Smith Institute.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about it, Max, please.
So, when you look at the crisis facing liberty in the 21st century, it's mainly, just a bit of context. I'm a member of the Mont Pelerin Society. When I go to the Mont Pelerin Society, I see lots of, admittedly, pale, stale, male contributors. Average age is pushing 80, I'd say. It's getting quite old. That's not a healthy position for liberty. We don't want that. What we want to have is vibrant young voices who feel they've got a stake in society, who have a stake in capitalism, and a stake in liberty. Because, to quote a left-wing journalist in the UK, how can you be a capitalist without any capital? So we're trying to basically come up with policies written by young people for young people that are attractive to parties of all spectrums, apart from the socialists.
Well, they will not vote for you anyhow.
They're not going to vote for us anyway, so it's fine. But we're basically trying to say, look, make pro-liberty arguments, make pro-growth arguments, and let's get everyone together to really try and make the case. So we've launched this initiative very successfully. We've got Bim Afellami as the patron of this. He's the city minister in the UK, a great man. And we've got another guy, Sam Bidwell, who's directing that at the moment. It is a fantastic initiative, really, really exciting. And actually upstairs we have a couple of the fellows. So yes. I should introduce you to them afterwards. But yes, it's an amazing thing. Yeah.
I think, well, as you said, collaboration is actually something that rises the tide.
Exactly.
And this is what I think we started today.
Exactly, and it's the start of a great friendship and something that will go on for many years.
Yeah.
Decade, hopefully. We're
still
going at it, yeah.
Once I am the old 80-year-old pale lady at the MPS meeting, and I remember very well at the 2002 MPS meeting in London. I was, after this meeting, I became a member.
Oh, really?
And I was one of the very few young females, not in academia. Back then I was only in a think tank and not being a professor at university.
Yeah.
But, it was kind of very surprising, and it has not changed a lot. I mean, it's slowly getting better and better. Thanks to people like you.
It's a problem. I mean, I spoke at the Oslo meeting most recently. Well, not most recently. We obviously had the fantastic meeting in Bretton Woods, which I loved.
Which was great.
Which was fantastic. It was wonderful. Oslo was also very expensive. My God, the price of a pint of beer there is eye-watering. But I stood up on stage with Deirdre McCloskey. It's a great honour of mine to, not just to meet her for a second time, but also to speak on a panel with her. And I stood up and I urged MPS, do more for young people because they are the future.
Exactly.
And I like to speak to older people who are into the liberty movement. What I encourage them to do is to plant seeds of trees that they will never sit under.
Well, learning from our experienced people in the movement is great.
Yeah.
But, we need to do something for the next generation. And somebody who has actually done a lot for the next generation was Hayek. And since you were chairing the president of the Hayek Society at the London School of Economics, let's take, and we have anniversaries this year.
We certainly do.
The 80th anniversary of the Road to Serfdom, the 50th anniversary of his receiving the Nobel Prize. So what are your plans for this great anniversary?
It's a fantastic year to be a Hayekian, of which of course I am, and I know you are as well, Barbara, so it's all very good. Very exciting time. So a couple of years ago, when we celebrated one of his birthdays, we went to the Austrian embassy, we had a big drinks party. Hayek's granddaughter was there, giving us personal remarks about, I don't know what she called her grandfather, Papi or something. It was lovely, wonderful. Oppi, that was it. To be still in touch with that kind of generation. This year, with it being, obviously, we've got the 80th anniversary of The Road to Serfdom, which I will say is one of the first books I ever read. That's what got me into it. That's my dad. My dad gave it to me.
The Reader's Digest version or the full?
The full version.
Good.
Come on. My dad had high expectations of me.
Student.
Exactly.
Okay.
I've got it at home. It's very dog-eared and full of writing. But so there's obviously that this year. We'll do some videos on that.
Excellent.
Dr. Owen Butler, our co-founder, director of the think tank, will be doing his usual spiel on explaining Hayek, explaining the Road to Serfdom, explaining the impact of it, and essentially. We're more concerned this year with the 50th anniversary of his Nobel Peace Prize. Peace Prize.
Economics Prize.
I think he should have also had the Peace Prize.
Yeah.
He contributed to the fall of the evil empire. But his Economics Prize, not just of his wonderful speech, which you quoted today, which is a huge
pretense of knowledge in society.
Exactly, where he lambasts the whole organisation, and it's just wonderful. But mainly, we will be republishing some of the work we've done with Hayek. Cool. So we've got his commemorative album, which we'll be republishing.
Finally!
Yes.
Because it's out of print.
It's out of print. So don't worry, on my computer, just in that bag over there, I have the PDF version.
Excellent.
That's going straight back to the printers, so we'll get that fully redone.
Thank you.
And then we'll also be getting the... we basically did a write-up of Hayek and on the social fabric of humanity. Looking at his philosophy, looking at his economics, looking at his legal interests, and what I find most interesting, of course, is his psychology, his work on psychology. So we've got all sorts of authors past, and I'm getting new ones at present. And if anyone's listening to this, of course, they should write into me if they want to write a chapter for this book. Yeah. That'd be wonderful, and we're going to get that republished.
We need to really.
We'll have a chat about this.
Yes.
Yeah. But we'd love to do more work on this and get that republished. Mm-hmm. We're also going to do a seminar at the London School of Economics, his alma mater, and we'll also, hopefully, if the ambassador's happy with it, doing another drinks reception at the Austrian embassy in London.
Well, that were wonderful. So I can only congratulate you on all those initiatives, and I promise you we will bring you into Austria, into Vienna for our initiatives.
Wonderful.
Of course. But tell us, what can, especially the next generation, learn from Hayek today, or what can he teach us today?
How long have we got? I mean, there's so much to learn. I think I wrote my dissertation on Hayek at LSE. I wrote, was the Hayekian knowledge problem applied to British public policy between 1979 and 1989? Pretty dry subject, I know. But it comes back to my favourite thing Hayek wrote about, which is the knowledge problem. Yeah. I think it is really the most seminal piece of economics in the past, since the Wealth of Nations, if I may say. I think it is.
You may.
I may say. I think it is.
You're the president of the Adam Smith Institute. You may say that. I would never say that.
No, of course not. But I'm happy to plug Adam Smith where I can. But really, the very simple idea that we can't know everything. Ergo, we should be modest in our policies, modest in our economic interactions, and go on a discovery process to find information. I think for young people now, I think that is the most important thing, because we spend so much time on social media knowing not even 1/10 of the story, 1% of the story, and making these massive aspersions out of it. And Daniel Hannan said this earlier, complaining 20 years ago about the amount of apathy in politics and how he misses it. And now people are saying all sorts of nonsense based on no information. People need to step back and realise that the knowledge problem exists in everything. And I think it really is so fundamental, not just in economic and policy, but in life as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're totally right. So today, it's not only socialist economic policies that could lead us down the road to serfdom, it's especially the green economic policies, or if they are not even economic, the green policies. The green policies that are not only taking us down the road to serfdom, that are killing entire countries and industries. I mean, look at Germany. Germany is economically not very savvy at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this? How can we get this back to normal? How can we free the next generation?
Absolutely. I think you just have to be honest with them. Now, when we look at green policies, I don't see them as green. They're watermelons. They're green on the outside and red in, the green on the outside, red in the middle, right? It's all about socialism. And as I said about the Next Generation Centre, it's about giving people a stake in society. Because at the moment, young people look at it and they go, I don't care if we're ruining this industry or this, framework or this area of the economy, because it doesn't affect me, because I've got no capital. I've got no savings, so I've never really had any normal wealth, so it doesn't really matter what inflation does. Oh well.
Yeah.
I've got no equity or stocks, so it doesn't matter how the companies are performing. It doesn't matter what the house prices are, because I'm just a victim of rent, and that's always been going up. I think you just have to be honest with people and say, look, if you carry on down the road to serfdom of these green policies, of curtailing freedom of speech, of essentially cutting people off from the great fruits of liberty, then what you end up with is a life just not worth living. And people will turn around to me, friends turn around to me who are on the left, they go, I don't see how you can stand up for this stuff. And I just say, because I see it in other countries. I see America, and I see Singapore, and I see the Baltics at the moment growing like the clappers. It's amazing. People are happy. People feel they've got a stake inside. They've got something to live for. I've gone on a discovery process to solve my knowledge problem, and I see how to solve the issues. And I urge them to look just beyond their phones on Instagram or TikTok, and look at what's good about these things. So giving them that stake through the Next Generation Centre, that's what we're about.
And tell them what property rights are about, because without property rights, you can't have a capitalist society.
Yeah, exactly. If you poll policies and you ask young people, do you want to cap rents?
Yeah.
They go, yes, of course, I'm paying so much rent. I mean, okay. Sounds
why don't you own it?
Yes, exactly. Why don't you own it?
Start saving.
Yeah, well, they try to say this is the issue. Yeah. They're not making enough money. Yeah. So it's into one hand and out the other. That's the problem. So they literally don't have the money to save, and it's something we find frustrating when we talk to conservatives about this, and they say, oh, when I was your age, we didn't have Netflix or phones, or we weren't buying avocados, and it's like, yes, but in real terms, you are earning 8 times more than we are now. Wages haven't risen since 2007, so you can't expect us to catch up with you.
So in other words, we need to fix monetary policy and also fiscal policy. We need
productivity.
Soundness on that front.
Exactly.
Otherwise...
Or else, what's the point in capitalism otherwise? Yeah. Not that we have a mixed economy, I'd say, without a free market. It's all about making the argument with evidence, and that's what we need to be pushing towards.
Exactly. So we will have to reverse all those trends in order to have freedom flourish again.
Absolutely. That's what we need to do.
Another question, since you're a very young gentleman still. We see those discussions at the US campuses and at many other campuses across Europe, the question of free speech.
Yes.
So what is your take on that?
So in the UK, we can actually come close to home for this. Hamza Yousaf, who was until very recently the First Minister of Scotland, launched the Hate Speech Act, came into law.
Which means
if you think someone has committed a hate speech or transgression against you, call the police. Okay. And they can go be arrested. J.K. Rowling was the victim of this, and she said, come and arrest me. No one did. As soon as the bill passed, the police of Scotland have never received more phone calls. Day afterwards, even more phone calls. Total disaster. So what we did is we wrote the Free Speech Act and we gave it to the government. And we don't know what they've done with it, but we basically say, unless you're inciting a riot, unless you are libeling people, unless it is, quite serious infringement on other people's rights through your speech, and leave them alone. Yeah. Have a First Amendment. This is tolerance. It's tolerant. I also found it more interesting. If you dig a bit deeper into American culture, why are they so willing to take risk? Why are they so willing to, go out and, live a full life? It's because they're not worried about being shut down by their peers, because they've got their First Amendment rights. It's capitalism, as Deirdre Montgomery says, is as much cultural as it is economic. And if we don't have those, positions, those rights in place, then you're in big trouble. And
we're lost.
We wonder why. Where does all this hate speech stuff come from? Yeah. It's from the left, of course.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to point out. It's the left-wing policies that really support all those negative developments.
The Tories are just as bad for it. Online safety bill.
But
I know it's coming up.
we have those people on both sides of the Atlantic.
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
it's mad, isn't it? But I mean, these are the moderates, as they're known. They're just on the left.
Let's just quickly shift gears when it comes to trade. I would.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go to that front. I mean, you obviously, probably, hopefully, will get a good trade deal out of the transatlantic discussions.
Yes. Well, let's temper that. Let's look at what's going on. So, if the Tories, if pigs fly and they get back in government again, that would be a fascinating period. They will actively engage if Donald Trump gets in. The Labour Party said they will not seek a free trade agreement with Keir Starmer. So, Keir Starmer will not seek a free trade agreement with Trump if he gets in. So what do you do? I think that's very concerning for us. If it does happen that Keir Starmer gets in and Trump gets in, we're going to be really communicating to Labour, going, you can solve a lot of your economic problems and have more money to spend on your socialist stuff. If you do a free trade agreement, you have to bite the bullet.
But why don't we tell them at all, we don't need trade agreements because there is no such thing as free trade. We have managed trade right now.
True,
we really want free trade.
Yes.
And, Adam Smith was the one actually who also pointed that out.
Exactly. But we have to work in the world we're in. That's the problem.
Okay, so back to reality.
It's back to reality. So this is the problem. ASI in many ways hasn't moderated itself. It's become much more pragmatic. And we leave the more, adventurous libertarian ideas to the IEA. Okay. Whereas we're the ones crafting the policy that is mad. It's mad as anything, but it works.
Okay.
So
hands-on.
Hands-on, exactly. That's really what we try and do. So when it comes to free trade, it'd be great if we live in a world where you didn't need free trade agreements. You could just go back and forth. But because you have to have free trade agreements, you've got to have it.
Okay.
Something we did a piece of research on recently was on the MPIA, WTO MPIA, the multi-party interim appeal mechanism. US pulled out of the courts. We pulled out as well, but no one else did. So now you have this MPIA, and we're sat there asking, why are we not sat at the table? Because it keeps China.
Yeah,
that's the important part.
Elephant,
So we wrote a big paper on that's called World Traders, if people are interested. It's an interesting paper, very legal jargony, but it's very good.
Well, there is one more thing that I would like to discuss with you. How can we bring back Adam Smith, apart from going and worship him in Edinburgh, the statue, but and what the good work that you do? But how can we make him more prominent on the continent?
On the continent,
yes.
It's a knowledge problem. I'm not sure how, but I'll give it a go. I think the big thing to do is you have to make constant references back to him. Any of his ideas, and luckily for listeners and for you, Barbara, is if you've got ChatGPT, we've programmed an Adam Smith bot.
Ooh.
Yes, we have. So it's called Adam Smith GPT, and you obviously it's one of the plugins. Click on it, and you can ask him questions, and he'll give you quotations back from any of his works, and keep making references to him. Because when people see Adam Smith on the continent, they think, who is this strange man? And then they start to research. It's all about tickling them, and then they give in to the tickles. Essentially, it is all about making those constant references. We try to do it with all of our work, all of our papers. We try and start off with an Adam Smith quote. And we encourage everyone else to.
We do that with Hayek.
I should hope so. We should swap at some point. You do Smith, I do Hayek. It'd be great.
Oh, we do both.
Yeah.
We do both.
Well, the two are very related. Hayek was a huge fan. So, yes, it's all about making those references back to original ideas and back to original passage, and even to the great Dr. Eamon Butler's Condensed Wealth of Nations. He's got loads of good stuff. Or check our website out. We've got lots of Adam Smith quotes on all sorts of things.
Yeah, I know that. And it's really back to reason, and it's back to the values that we defend.
Absolutely. So also you've got to defend Smith against the Marxists. Because the Marxists all think that Smith was a Marxist, and I have to explain to them, what are you talking about? That's mad. But we'll get there eventually. Well,
thank you very much, Maxwell. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm looking forward to many more that we will have, and to our collaboration in the future.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.